there, Jack McLean here, and welcome to Prepare Like a Pro live chats. Prepare Like a Pro is a business that I created earlier in the year. We're a strength and conditioning business working with male and female developing footballers all over the country. We're based in Melbourne, and we specialise at structuring athletic development programs as well as physical preparation for off-season, pre-season and in-season training. There we are. Send request.
Thanks for jumping on, Harry. How you going?
Hey, Jack. I'm good, thanks, mate. How are you?
Going well. That is a record pace.
Yeah, I've been waiting for it.
Thanks for jumping on, and I'm looking forward to this chat. I think it'll be a really good one for those listening out there, particularly the developing footballers. You've obviously got plenty to share, and I've been following your page for some time now, so I'm really looking forward to this chat. And for those that don't know Harry Simington, he's a strength and conditioning coach, a former semi-professional footballer, where he played 3 years in the NEFL with the Gold Coast Suns before moving to Melbourne on a contract with Coburg. Are you still playing, Harry, at the moment? Are you going to play in 21?
No, I'd say it's an early retirement for me. I decided to give up footy in 2020, and then the rest of the world did too. So, just focusing on coaching.
Right. So did COVID force you to retire early, or you're already committed to playing in 2020?
Yeah, no, I'd already chosen to. Yeah, through injuries and whatnot. Yeah, just focusing on uni and coaching, and it's all seemed to coincide with COVID.
Yeah, very well played. So, Harry is now a private strength and conditioning coach with a special interest in sports biomechanics and motor learning. So if you're not following his page, definitely check it out. He's pretty good in sharing his drills and providing a lot of awesome drills that you can do to improve your mechanics as a footballer, both from an athlete development point of view, but also involves the footies as well, which is good fun to watch. He's studying full-time at the moment at Victoria University with the goal to work in elite sport, both in Australia and around the world. And in addition to his coaching his own private business, he's a performance coach for Katie Brennan's AFLW Academy, which is his complementing role as a operations manager for one-on-one football, where he works alongside his mentor and former coach, Andrew Rains. So is Rainsy coaching at the Gold Coast Suns? Is that the connection?
Yeah, he was head of the academy. Still is head of the academy as well. Yeah, so he coached me from about, I think, under 16s right through to when I left.
Fantastic.
So, know Rainsy quite well, and now he's my boss and a mentor too.
Yeah, awesome. And you can't miss out the last stop point. Currently living in Melbourne, so he stayed after his contract with Coburg to stay here, which is awesome, and living with his girlfriend Carly and their 8-month-old fur baby. We've got a fur baby as well. He's a mix. He'd be a good footballer, actually. He's a Kelpie Greyhound.
Oh, nice. Yeah, Oates isn't that athletic. He's a power athlete, put it that way.
Yeah, it looks like he gives a good cuddle as well.
Yeah, no, he's good. It was a COVID baby as well. It was out of necessity.
Yeah, fantastic. It's a good welcoming into the family home. You got to have a good comfort, and they're plenty of fun. So we'll jump straight into it, mate. Take us back to the beginning. When did you fall in love with the game? I guess you're an athlete first before becoming a coach, it sounds like. So maybe from a footballer point of view, you played at a really high level. So when did you start playing footy, and when did you start taking it seriously to play at a high level?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, I played footy ever since I could remember. My parents were a big influence there. Fun fact, I was actually late to the hospital to be born because Dad wanted to wait until halftime. Port Adelaide versus Collingwood. Was a massive Port fan. So
finals game or?
I think it was the final. Yeah. Yeah, Mum was about to give birth, and Dad's like, "No, we'll just wait. We'll wait till halftime. We'll go then." I was actually born on the side of the freeway because of it. So so played footy and cricket as well as long as I can remember. It was I played both pretty seriously right up till about the age of 15. Yep. So I was like playing for Queensland in both, and I decided at about 15 to give up cricket and really sort of focus on football a little bit more. Yeah, so I went right through. I missed out on the draft in 2 years, so my 18th and my 19th year.
Yep.
But along the way, I guess looking at background to strength conditioning, I was lucky enough to have my own private coach, S&C coach, when I was 12 years old. Joey Hayes from Ultimate Sports Performance up in the Gold Coast. So I was exposed to the world of high performance pretty early. Yeah. And I just used to love it. I'd jump in the car. It was a Friday night session, I think it was. I went down about a half an hour drive from our place, and I used to jump in the car after a session and just be battering Mum and Dad's ear about what I learned, what I did. And I just found it really fascinating how you can enhance your football, whether it's strength, speed, skills, anything. I find that really interesting. And obviously being around a bloke like Joey and other coaches along the way, it sort of, I guess, paved the path.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was, I suppose I also had plenty of recurring injuries, and there was a point where I was, I guess, a little bit fed up with the fact that I was getting the same injuries over and over again. I had a hamstring that wouldn't go away. And then most recently, like stress fractures in my feet, in the navicular. And I just wasn't satisfied that it's just luck or it's a strength problem.
Yep.
So I was doing everything I could in the gym. I was a bit OCD with my training. I'd do absolutely everything I could, and I wasn't getting any faster. I was still getting injured. Yeah, I guess that sort of pushed me down the path to start trying to figure things out myself. Not very good at it, but I went and outsourced and got other coaches and podiatrists and whatnot to help me. And I think my biggest interest then, and especially today as well, is biomechanics, and not just looking at biomotor qualities, let's say individually, but also movement quality and the effects that can have on injury risk if you get it wrong, but then also the real positives if you get it right. And yeah, I've sort of been enjoying the journey along the way, and starting to coach more now, and always learning.
Yeah, fantastic, mate. That's a nice recap. You mentioned, was it Joey, the strength and conditioning coach at the age of 12? Yeah, so it sounds like you worked with him for a while. What started?
Yeah.
Was it your dad that brought him down there? How did you get, because it is unusual for footballers to get exposed to strength and conditioning at that age.
Yeah.
Was that part of what stirred that on? How did that begin?
Yeah, it's probably credit to Joey's marketing, to be honest. I think I came home from a training session. It was a new footy team, and there was a bloke there, Nathaniel something or other. I was like, 12 years old, and he was just bigger than everyone. He was just like the strong guy. He was faster. He was running through blokes, and I just remember thinking, like, how can I be like that? And I'm like, oh, he's got this weapon that I don't seem to have. Like, is it natural? I know I can kick, but I can't run like he can. And Dad obviously didn't know too much about it either. And so we did a quick Google search, and yeah, he's always like, he's a very intense personality. He's really motivated, and it was ultimate sports performance, bigger, faster, stronger, pretty much the exact words that Dad had typed into Google. So that was how I first connected with Joey, and he's unreal. Like, yes, I chat to him most weeks. He's been not only a coach and a mentor in the S&C space, but also like he's given me heaps of opportunities. I've met some awesome people through him, trained with, he coached Kurt Tippett and Katie Brennan, actually. That was where I first met Katie. Yeah, sort of exposed to a few elite athletes as a junior. But Joey's awesome. I can't thank him enough for what he's not only did for my career, but also for the help he's given me as I transition into a coach.
Yeah. And what age were you when you realised strength and conditioning was something you're interested in pursuing as a career?
Yeah, good question. I knew it was up there. I knew it was something that I was interested in. Obviously, I was trying to become a footballer first and foremost, and that was the forefront of my mind. And I was actually talking to Rainsy on a podcast just today, actually. Stay tuned for that.
Yeah, sure.
About the importance of having a plan B. And I think my parents both went to uni, and I think they sort of encouraged me to find something else as well that I could put some energy into. And so I think the more I got injured, the more I realized I wanted to do it, because I realized that I like to say performance. I probably don't do the same traditional strength training, so I'm maybe more of a performance coach or movement coach or whatever you want to call it. But I found the more I got injured, the more I got invested in biomechanics, how the body moves, and I didn't really have anyone doing that for me. I kept getting injured and didn't really have a why. So I think it was probably around between 17 and 19 when I had the majority of my injuries. I think that's when I started to really realize that I can actually help here. It's actually something that I don't think is junior footballers are exposed to enough. Yeah, I guess my passion's evolved for it. Met some really smart people, learning everything I can from them. And yeah, that's sort of where we are now. I'm still very young in my career.
And you've mentioned Joey, Rainsy, Katie Brennan. Are there other people that stand out in terms of people that have had a strong influence on your career as a strength and conditioning coach or mentors, so to speak? Yeah,
they're probably the main ones. They've all given me opportunities that I wouldn't have. From more of a, I guess, learning space, I was lucky enough to meet Franz Bosch about this time last year, actually. Spend a day with him, and yeah, been keeping in touch ever since. And I think it's very different to traditional strength training, but there's something sort of clicked with me when I sort of started to understand some of these concepts of movement quality being one of, if not the most important thing. And it was just something that I'm like, if we know this stuff, let's do it more. And it's probably not as prevalent, let's say, in Australia, but yeah, hopefully we can start to change that. Yeah.
This is sort of off the cuff. What would be some things that you would have liked to have been exposed to growing up, in whether it be in academies or at schools, or what are some interventions that maybe, I'm sure you probably want to start to put into place now that you've got this knowledge, but is it a matter of just seeking a private S&C like you did yourself, or is it bigger scale things like academies at the Gold Coast or NAB League, community football? What do you think needs to change?
I just think it could be something as simple as having a running coach. Like, it doesn't have to make it have to make it complicated. Like I think I probably look a little bit further than running and whatnot, but I just think if we use that as the foundation, and a lot of the movement quality stuff that I look into, it's all based around running. It's the same reflexes. At the end of the day, we're made to run. And I think just because you can run doesn't mean you run well. And I think now that I've started to look into it a little bit more, I've looked back on footage of myself, and I know how I used to run. It was big lopey strides, really heavy steps, like no pre-tensioning, no like really poor pelvic control, and like really low frequency of steps. I just think it's as we get stronger and we get introduced to more strength training programs, it's probably a good idea to also complement that with movement training. And if you're at a club or something, it could be as simple as just getting a running coach in. But I think running coaches as well need to know that, or need to, I guess, understand that it's not track sprinting. It is different. The same principles apply, but then looking at what the sport needs and what stimulus the athletes aren't getting. Like tennis is a really good example. They get really good movement patterns just from the sport, like use spinal co-contractions, or when you rotate, we need to have an extended spine. They get that for free because the sport teaches them that. I think there's some things we don't get that as footballers. So I think looking at what the requirements of the sport are, particularly individual movement analysis as well. I think we all get given a similar program. I know you're huge on getting blokes in one-on-one, and I think if you're looking to put in a really effective system, it's got to be based on the individual, and you've got to start with an analysis, find out what's wrong. And that's sort of probably what's good and what's wrong. That's probably something that I would have, absolutely loved if I was playing.
Yeah, fantastic. And on that note, so you're now working as a private movement coach, performance coach, strength and conditioning coach, whatever you want to call it. But what does the first session look like for a developing footballer? And what are sort of your key pillars that you're trying to do when you work with an athlete one-on-one for, let's say, a couple of months?
Yeah, good question. I like we were just speaking about, I always start with a movement analysis. So, and not just straight line running, like a lot of agility stuff as well. Get the iPad out, film it all, so I've got it there as well. Not just so that I can analyze it later, but also so I've got something to look back on after we put in a good stint of training. So it always starts with that. That'll normally take up half the session for the first couple of times. And then it's about stimulating the athlete. And I think a lot of the time we get caught in doing very basic movements the same, and it's repetition after repetition. I think we can get better at stimulating that and encouraging them to produce what we want to see themselves. That's another concept I've learned from friends. It's like, if I want someone to do something, let's say it's hip lock, if I want to see hip lock, I can't just tell the athlete, this is what you need to do, this is what it looks like, go and do it. If we want to make lasting change, it's got to emerge from the athlete themselves. And it doesn't mean you just sit there and shut up and you don't give cues. Like, it actually makes it harder because you've got to implement constraints, and you've got to use what we call like a constraints-based approach of creating an environment that is challenging enough that the movement patterns that you're after emerge naturally from the athlete. And that's sort of where the integration of, let's say, strength training or movement training, whatever you want to call it, and motor learning comes from. It's very much what you want to see, and then it's about, because I know it doesn't mean that the athlete's going to do it on match day. It always comes back to that question of transfer, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Is that where the aqua bag comes in to get that stimulus and keep the athletes engaged and challenge them from a stability point of view? Is that what you're trying to work at there?
Yeah, absolutely. It's not just putting them on and doing it for the sake of using it. It's more so you can, let's say you do a 100-meter sprint with the aqua bag. It's sloshing around, so that every step you take is different to the next step. And then the next 100-meter run you do is going to be slightly different. So it's contextual variability. You might be running the same distance at the same pace, but you're using different muscles to do it every time because the chaos forces that, let's say. Mm-hmm. And so, it's a way of a really easy way, thanks to the products, to introduce a really chaotic environment, a really unstable environment. And if the task is clear, that's really important, knowledge of result. If the task is clear and you know your endpoint, then we can put the athlete in, let's say, a really chaotic environment, and how they cope with that environment, or the self-organization, the movement that they produce is under pressure every time. Yeah. So it's repetition without repetition. That's a real catchphrase these days. Let's say, there's no sort of monotony with your training. It's always stimulating and challenging at a level at or above what it's going to be on match day. And I think, we can that's something that I try and do, is make sure that however long an athlete's with me, if it's 60-minute or a 90-minute session, that they're always stimulated. More so. It's got to be more so than what they are on game day. And then all of a sudden game day seems a little bit easier because self-organization has been challenged.
Yeah.
Prior to that day.
Yeah, fantastic. And a lot of the sessions I've seen, you're out on the field with the guys, you're involving the footies. What's your approach with, you mentioned change of direction work that you do. It looks like you do some sprinting work, some kicking work. Does an athlete come and say, look, hey, I want to improve my distance mobility, kick long distances or kicking at speed, and then you'll sort of attack that one skill? Or do you sort of assess the athlete, and from your assessment you then say this is some things that we need to focus on?
It always comes from the movement analysis, but it doesn't. So if let's say I'm doing the analysis and I find that there's inadequate pre-tensioning of the swing leg before it goes into stance phase. So swing leg retraction, we have hip extend. So let's say I find that error. That's a pattern. That's an attractor that you see not only in running but in kicking as well. So the odds are, if they're not doing it when they run, they're not doing it when they kick, they're not doing it when they change direction. So it's very much attack the attractor, not attack the whole thing as a separate category, I guess, because the body doesn't see kicking as any different from running. It's all movement, and I think that's sort of the art of what Franz has been able to do, is that he's made sense of all the chaos. There's so much, like how can you even look at agility and give it any type of qualitative measure, but with a set of instructions or a set of attractors or these really key movement qualities, you can build any movement. And as long as you've got these really stable components in place, variation can be controlled. So like, let's say someone's running, they've got hip lock, you've got swing leg retraction, whatever, name 6 of them. Then it doesn't matter what their arms do. Like, you can still reach out and grab the footy, you can still kick the ball, but the foundations of agility and movement are still there. So for me, it's about finding the attractor that's missing, or finding the attractors, or finding where the athlete's incompetent, and then trying to make it worse. That's a really hard one to sort of get in mind. Is that I see something, I make it worse or I go after it and I make it harder for them to stay in that pattern, and then that's how we all of a sudden get it to emerge from the athlete naturally.
So learning.
Yeah, 100%. So there's a point where the solution that they currently do is no longer effective, and they have to come up with a new one. Obviously, you do it safely, make it nuts. And then I think there's a process to it. Like, a lot of the time you see stuff online, or it's just variation for the sake of it. There's very much, there's room behind every single exercise we do.
Yeah, and it comes down to that improving movement quality.
Yeah, 100%. That's my goal. Yeah, and like you were talking about before with kicking, and it's all integrated. And I think, especially with COVID and there's less jobs out there, I think the more integrated you can be, the more value you can provide to anyone. So yeah, I guess I've played footy, so I know some of the skills. I know what it's like to be an athlete. I know my way around a weights room, but the more I can sort of integrate that and help the athletes see it as development, not separate categories. Yeah, I think that's really valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where, like you mentioned earlier, that's where I imagine you get that transference into playing the game. And so, am I right in thinking that you're studying at the moment at Vic Uni, or have you just finished? Yeah, you are studying. So what are you studying?
Yes, I'm still doing my sports science degree. So I've done like my ASCA and all that. But yeah, I said that while I was playing, I could only do it part-time. So I'm still, still chipping that one out. But
that's how
Foots great. Yeah. So I was at Griffith Uni when I was on the Gold Coast, and then when I moved down, I transferred over to VU, which is actually something I sort of wanted to do anyway. So that was a good move for
Yeah, win-win. And you work with Katie Brennan. Do you want to go into a little bit of detail on what your role is there and what's going on with, for those that don't know, Katie Brennan's academy, maybe just a bit of an intro to it?
Yeah. So like I said before, I know Katie from our Queensland days. We trained together. Yeah, she smashed me in a field drill or something when I was like 12. And then, so when I moved down, there was another connection through Joey that I made, and she had a job going at her academy. So we've got an AFLW academy there where we've got girls all the way from 12 years old all the way up till VFLW players and local players, everyone in between. And so it's a really good environment. And so we do skills, we do strength and conditioning. So I'm a performance coach there. So I do, a little bit of everything. Yeah, sort of what we were talking about before, with it being like an integrated approach. Like, we'll do skills and movement or running or whatever it is as part of the same session. I think the girls really enjoy it. It's a great setup. Katie's great. She's got a wealth of knowledge herself. And I think it's a really good environment for young female footballers to get a glimpse of what it's like from Katie, who's obviously at the highest level.
Absolutely. Yeah, it sounds like a good environment. So members, anyone can join, female footballers that are playing, and then they'll be a member and they can train it. It's like a gym in a sense, so they can just train and get involved with the field sessions, the gym sessions. You coach like a few sessions a week sort of thing. Is that how it sort of rolls out?
Yeah, so KB Performance is a gym. Yeah. And then, there's a whole bunch of different services. Like, people can come for just like normal PT, just general population, I think. Yeah. And then, we've got the AFLW Academy, which is the part that I'm working in. And we do, I think we've got about 4 afternoons a week or 3 and one Saturday morning or something. We obviously we had more pre-COVID, but yeah, it's like we all give them their individual program, skills together. Yeah, just sort of a program to complement what they're doing at their local club or their TAC club or wherever they are with it.
Fantastic. And you're involved with One-on-One, so Rainsey's business or company as the performance coach there. What's your role with One-on-One football?
So I'm in charge of operations. So yeah, just doing, I'm helping Rainsey out with organising and a bit of graphic design as well. Actually, that's a bit out of my comfort zone. So yeah, I do operations behind the scenes. I've got a few exciting developments coming up as well. So stay tuned with that. And then obviously I coach as well. I actually started out before I started doing any S&C coaching. I was coaching on the platform as a skills coach. And yeah, again, like that was another opportunity thanks to Rainsey that I managed to have. And then yeah, just sort of now I still do those sessions. I still do my footy sessions. I've got regular footballers that I coach, but yeah, I think I make it more than just a skill session.
Yeah,
obviously everyone's different, and everyone wants something different, but yeah, just a few more strings in my bow.
Fantastic, mate. Well, it's been a jam-packed 30 minutes. We'll wrap it up. Yeah. Save your voice for a period of time. So you got a coaching voice tomorrow. That's great, mate. It's good to get a better understanding of all the different hats that you've got going on and the work that you're doing. What are you most excited about for 2021? You mentioned some exciting projects that are coming up. Yeah, what are you most excited about for next year?
Yeah, for sure. Won't give too much away just yet. A decent reveal, so we'll keep it on a couple of those ones. But yeah, I'm just looking forward to traveling, to be honest. Both Carly and I have family up in Queensland. We're getting back for Christmas, but hopefully be able to do that a little bit more regularly. I've got a few athletes up there as well, so it'd be good to see them. It'd be good to get back to uni, to be honest. We've been doing all these very practical courses online, which making it happen. But yeah, it'd be good to get back in the classroom. Yeah, pretty much everything, to be honest. Just looking forward to the world opening up again.
A bit of normality, for sure.
Really nice.
Well, thanks again, Harry. Thanks for catching up, and we'll no doubt catch up in the flesh. It's not at the end of this year, maybe sometime in the new year. But yeah, really appreciate you jumping on and sharing your knowledge, mate. That was great.
Absolutely, mate. Yeah, look forward to it.
Thanks, Harry. Thanks for watching.